Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to Around the Globe with Dr. G. We are delighted to have with us our guest, Captain PK Amoabeng. We are in the historic city of Accra, Ghana. Captain PK, welcome to Around the Globe with Dr. G.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure meeting you, Dr. G.
Thank you so much. Thank you. How's your day been so far?
Quite relaxing. I'm a pensioner, so I don't stress too much. I have a few worries, but I deal with them. So this is a good opportunity to be with you.
It's good to know. It's good to know that. Yeah, I know that you're a well-known person here in Ghana. But if you don't mind, could you give us a little bit of background of perhaps your early history and where you are at the moment?
Ooh, that would be a lot of history. I mean, I was born before independence.
Okay.
In 1952, and I'm 72 years. And I went to school normal and everything. I think what has made me known or popular is the company that I founded, co-founded, and I was the CEO, and it became a bank and things like that. But at the age of, I started school normally, but let's say at the age of 23, I joined the armed forces after university.
Okay.
And so, and I love the armed forces. I was never going to come out of the armed forces. But then events in the armed forces, the coup in 1979 and again in 1981, for me, destroyed the armed forces that I loved, and I left.
Things changed.
Yeah, and then by default, I became a businessman because there was no job for me, so I joined my partner, next door neighbor, and we started doing business. Okay. And I was in business for about 15 years and did almost every type of business. You can name it. I've done it before. I've been a contractor, I've done air conditioning, I've done timber, I've done oil, I've done everything. Now, then because of the need for funding, which was difficult to get, okay. And I experienced it firsthand when the banks were messing up with my businesses, I decided to go into London, and I formed a finance company with my partner. And it was called Unique Trust Financial Services. Just as the name says. That
Unique Trust Financial Services.
That is, we will be lending based on trust more than the normal processes, and the trust has to be special or unique. That's the idea behind the name. This was in 1996, 97, when I was about 45 years old.
Okay.
And I was broke. And we started with less than $20,000. And there were just 3 other people and myself. Okay. I was a product of School of Business Administration, and I was a chartered accountant. I was a retired officer and everything, but I was broke, and we had to start very, very small. And it's been a good story, at least up to the final stages. And we grew this company with staff of 3 and a capital of about 20,000. Okay. And in about 12 years' time, about 2008, 2009, we decided to sell a part of this company and use the money to acquire a bank. And the market cap for this company that we started was $90 million. Wow. And it was a good story, and people knew, transparent. We're growing by the year, we publish accounts, and so on and so forth. And we were employing, in 2012, about over 25,000 people directly, as in taking salary.
From just having 3 employees, you
grew to a point in 2012 where we were employing directly over 25,000 people. Wow. And we had the UT Financial Service, the Unique Trust became UT. Okay. So UT Financial Services, then we had UT Properties, we had UT Logistics, we had UT Private Securities, UT Life Insurance, UT in Nigeria,
really?
UT in South Africa, and a couple of other companies. And the story was nice, especially coming from Africa, because you don't normally get these stories flourishing in Africa. And we decided to acquire a bank in about 2009 thereabouts. And that's when we went on the stock exchange and sold off 30% of the financial services and realized $27 million. And we used that to acquire the bank. but not to actually, the problem is we didn't want to become a bank, but we wanted to own a bank in the conglomerate.
I see.
And when we bought the bank, the minimum capital required by Bank of Ghana was about $7 million. Okay. Soon after we bought the bank, minimum capital was raised to $60 million.
From $7 million, it was raised to $60 million.
Yeah.
Was there a reason for that?
It was for the bank to become more robust, to handle big transactions and the normal jargon that the regulators would throw at you. And so we had to actually invite other investors. So we had IFC, DEG, Investec, and Ghanaians, a lot of Ghanaians, maybe about 15,000 of them. We floated the shares.
Okay.
And we raised the money all right and got the minimum capital. But then we had to merge the financial services with the bank to be able to have controlling interest.
I see.
So instead of just owning the bank, we became a bank. The bank was quite successful. We started and we became, or were voted Bank of the Year. The first time an indigenous bank had been voted Bank of the Year. We brought out innovative products like, what do you call it? Extended banking services, mobile banking. We had a lot of corporate responsibilities about breast cancer and all these things. We did great stuff. But along the line, because of a whole lot of things which we're going to document in my third book. By the way, I've written 2 books on the UT story.
Okay.
Yeah. There's the first book which is called UT Story, Humble Beginnings. That's from when we started.
Okay.
And also the UT Story, creating a winning team. That is when we're building, expanding, and things like that.
Okay.
And the third book, which is coming early next year, is UT Story, the UT Bank, where we talk about how the bank came into being and the problem that we had, and then how come eventually the bank was closed down. Okay. Now, when we became a bank and we were successful initially, of course, every good venture will face its nemesis. Oh, yeah. So I got to a point where, because we're in a new terrain and we're making some mistakes, in terms of processes, in terms of the culture, and a few other things which I outlined in a book. We got into liquidity problems because we're not collecting our debts and we're having non-performing loans. I see. Right?
But you were never set up. Your original goal was not
never to
own
become a bank.
Yes.
Yeah. So then we had to fall on Bank of Ghana for a bit of liquidity support, and we had to also put a restructuring plan in place. So in 2015, December, I decided that it's time for me to bow out. Okay. For a new person to come and understand the issues and try and change course. So I left in 2015, but I was still part of the team that was discussing the issues with Bank of Ghana. Okay. And in 2017, about 20 months after I had left, with the advent of the new government, the MPP government, they took a decision not to bail out the bank, but to shut down the bank.
So they didn't do what the US did in bailing out banks?
No, they didn't.
They didn't do that?
No. Africans don't do that. We have our personal hatred and jealousies and envy, so we tend to act knee-jerk actions and to destroy people. Because I think it was a great story. Yeah. Because the UT story achieved a lot of acknowledgements. I was given a national award, Order of the Volta. I was most respected CEO for 6 years. Nobody else was. I was Ghana's best entrepreneur. I was marketing man of the year. And this I took in the name of the company because the company's achievements that brought this. And outside, I was invited to Stanford to share the success story. I was invited to Oxford. I was an icon of Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. I was also made the Johnny Walker Giant. Oh, wow.
So a lot of recognition all over the world.
Internationally. That is why, you take me out, that is why I think the government's action was irrational, and it killed a Ghanaian successful story which the youth could follow. And we need a lot of these for us to be developed.
As you said, Captain PK, you said that in any kind of venture, there's a time that you will trip. You'll trip.
Yeah.
If you could rebuild again, knowing what you know now, would you still be looking at holding a bank? Yes, becoming
It's
a bank.
a question most people ask me. We didn't become a bank because we wanted to become a bank. We became a bank because of the circumstances. Because we bought the bank and the capital was $7 million, as I said. And all of a sudden you find $60 million. The only way to keep the bank is to merge the two entities. Because if you buy something 7 million and you're supposed to have equity of 60 million, if you bring in investors, you don't own what you bought.
That's true.
I wanted to own it. So the question we asked ourselves was, can we bring the UT Financial Services, which was a successful entity, into the bank and do the same thing?
I see.
And we challenged ourselves and said, yes, we think we can do it if we challenge ourselves. And that's what we did. So in hindsight, if the conditions were the same, I'm sure you would do the same thing. I mean, we didn't have much choice. But yes, I understand the question that most people ask. That it's like if you had not become a bank, you wouldn't have had all these problems.
All the problems that you had.
But you don't have control of the fate. Things hit you depending on what happens. You take the best decisions that you think you have, and you take the consequences that come with it.
Yeah. That's well said. You don't. That's very well said. You don't have control of the fate, because my thoughts are this as well. Had you continued in the same direction without owning the bank, perhaps something else may have happened, but we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know.
We just don't know.
You don't have control of the fate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you did have control of the things that you could control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't have any regrets. I don't even hate the government or people in government. I don't bear grudges. The point is that we come into this world. My philosophy is that we come into this world to serve our purpose, to create an impact, to make the world a better place. And the world belongs to some system, something, God simply. And He knows what He's going to do with His world. But He brings us here, and we're supposed to make an impact on this creation. It may be you can make what we see as great impact. Maybe you make a small impact, which will grow into something when we're gone. So whatever it is, you ask yourself, what can I do with my life that you're giving to me? And you do the best that you can, honestly, and with the right values and intentions and things for the system.
As you know, Captain PK, sometimes we learn the greatest lessons from our failures.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely. You're right.
Yeah, I want to ask you though, some people have fallen headlong on things that happen to them that are even perhaps a lot less than what happened to you. How were you able to personally continue in spite of what had happened with the holding company?
Well, you see, I say this about people. We come into this world with nothing. And fast forward, you also live with nothing. But you're put here for a purpose, right? So it's up to you to ask yourself, what can I do at every point in time? You need to acquire worldly things, right? You need to acquire education, for example. You need to have great health, otherwise you can't serve the system. You need to have love. You need to have material things. You need to have possessions. And you're supposed to use that to impact the world, and then when you leave, right? Now, people get defined by the worldly things. That's the problem. It's good to have worldly things. You can enjoy life a bit, but you acquire the worldly things to use it to serve your purpose, and people get derailed in the process. So I am not defined by worldly things.
How did you manage to avoid that? Since even, as you know, the good book says you can't serve two masters. You either hate one and love the other, or love one or hate the other.
I love one more than the other. I love the purpose bit, achieving the purpose bit, more than enjoying myself. Now, the cue is to stay humble. You see, we're all created uniquely, and we're special. We have special purposes and things to do. But in reality, we're not worth anything. You are one out of about 8 billion people. God damn it, Dr. G, that is zero.
That is, infinitesimal.
You know, so you stay humble. You believe that the world belongs to a God who is controlling things. You're supposed to have a purpose and try and give off your best to improve the world and make it a better place. But stay humble. It doesn't matter how much you have. And when you have a lot of the worldly things and leadership position, it means God expects a lot more from you.
You're more accountable.
Yes, you must account for it. And so when I see leaders who have the opportunity to change the world around them in a huge way, and then instead they are corrupt and using the money and abusing people, I say, I wish I had this opportunity. Because it is up to you to make a mark and make the world a better place. We tend to abuse it, especially in Africa, we tend to abuse it. So it's a matter of staying humble, being God-fearing, not being defined by worldly things, and pursuing the purpose by keeping your feet on the ground.
You know, Captain PK, a lot of people say to themselves, some say to themselves, I don't even know the purpose of which why I'm here.
Yeah.
How does a person discover that purpose? I mean, how did you discover your purpose and what you wanted out of life?
But nobody's giving a blueprint of what they're supposed to do. But simply put, loosely put, make the world a better place with your presence. Do good to people, love people, love your Creator, and the Bible is there to guide you, and your teachings and education will guide you. You don't know if you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, but if you make the right impact, I think you'll be, at least if you don't get 100%, you get some 70%. That's good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. So you went on from business, and then you founded the PK Foundation. Tell us about that. How did that? How was that inspired?
So here I was. The bank was collapsed, and I was put in court. As we speak, I'm still in court. Brilliant. I've been in court for 5 years, and the prosecution, that is the state attorney, is taking 5 years to finish his prosecution. So I found my life being curtailed, and I said, listen, I can't just give up on this world. God has given me a lot of knowledge and experience and expertise, and I'm in great health, and it's not for nothing. So I said, okay, what do I have? Even though I'm in court, I don't just sit and say I'm waiting for the court to run out. I don't know how long I'm going to live for. So I said, okay, fine, let me do something with my life. And I was reflecting and say, okay, fine. When I realized that the banking sector was not doing much in terms of helping business and things like that, and it caused me sleepless nights, I decided to do something about it. And therefore I formed UT, and we did have a great impact on this country in the financial sector. We transformed whole sections of it, it's a fact. So I said, what is the problem that keeps me awake? And the problem that keeps me awake is the problems that this country is facing. Underdevelopment, poverty, now there's even galamsey and all sort of things that is setting the country back. And I said, we all know, why are we in the state in which we are? It's because something is wrong with our mindset. And eventually, it's the lack of the right leadership, right? So the next thing is, how can I tackle this problem for the country? It's a huge problem.
It is.
I can't say I have solution for it. I can't say I can resolve it, but maybe I can do something about it. So I ask basic questions. If you have a problem in this world, what do? You go to an expert, right? So if you're not well, you go to a medical doctor who has been trained as an expert. Or even if you have a toothache, you don't even go to a medical doctor, you go to a dentist, the specialist.
Oh, yes.
So I said, okay, so who will solve this leadership problem? It means we need the right leadership, not just the leadership that we're rolling out, but leadership with a different mindset, a leadership who has a revolutionized mindset. That's a leader with the right values and feeling for the people and fearing his God and wanting to do good for people and having love for people. That's the kind of leader we have, and that's what we don't have. So it's like you saying that, okay, now I know I have to see the doctor.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the doctor, what are you going to do? Stay home and die. So I said, listen, since I'm convinced this is what we need, I will create those kind of leaders, some of them, and put in the system. So you don't just sit and say and pray as we normally do, go to church and say, we are suffering, we are suffering.
Got to be some action.
You have to do something.
Yeah.
So the PK Amoabeng Leadership Foundation is to create leaders, especially young people, because they have the next generation, who have the right values and mindset to change the way the things are going, or to change the narrative for Africa and Ghana in particular. So,
what is that process like, Captain PK?
Okay, so the PK Amoabeng Leadership Foundation does a whole lot of things. We go to tertiary institutions and have seminars and talks with them. We go to even institutions to talk to managers, young managers, and things like that on the way to run companies. And because I run companies, successful company for a long time, I know what works and what doesn't work. And then we also have various sessions. But the flagship program is what we call the Scholars Program.
Okay.
Where we take people, young people, future leaders, and as soon as we take them, the first thing is to take them to the Jungle Warfare School.
The Jungle Warfare School.
To let them experience.
That sounds like boot camp.
Yes, to let them experience military leadership. Because I am who I am and different because I went to the military. And I know the military changed my perspective about life and my values about life. And that is what has made me build all that I've been able to build. So I take them to the Jungle Warfare School for just a week. But you can see the transformation in those people in just a week. And then we come out and I assign them with mentors. Each one has a mentor that I have chosen for them. Okay. Because I have to look for people who have the right values that I'm looking for. Okay. And I align them with them for 1 year. Okay. So they help them in their career development, education, and everything. And then we go for quarterly boot camps where I am with them. We do exercises, we travel and everything. And see, they used to see me as some big man. All of a sudden, I'm in the bus with them and all sort of things. And we travel together, we exercise together, we swim together. And they realize that what is important in this world is not the material things per se, but how you apply it for people to benefit. We also have Zoom meetings and seminars, and I have dinners with them, one-on-one and things like that.
You're totally hands-on.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way they can feel what you're trying to talk about. Just talking will do. You have to be in there with them, and then they can see. And I tell you, the first cohort are about to pass out. There are 20 of them, and it gladdens my heart when I'm having discussions with them. They are changed, and they are looking for a future that is different. They are prepared to make the sacrifices, and their perspective of life is changed. It's lovely. And I did not go to other institutions for help because I didn't have the content to prove what I was doing. Okay. But now I have the content. So what I'm praying for is that a lot of people, Ghanaians, should not lose hope. Let's help to create the right leadership and put them in the system. And I say that at least you give hope a chance.
Absolutely.
Because if a chance should come, there should be the leaders who grab it and run with it. But if you don't have those leaders in the system, the chance will pass you by.
I'm just curious, out of, say, 20 people that are in the program, how many fall off along the way and how many make it through?
No, for this cohort, we took 20 and we will be passing out about 17.
Oh, wow. That's a very high rate.
Yeah, because after you spend the monies on them, you have to make sure that it works. Okay. You don't just throw the monies away by getting rid of them. I had wanted to actually increase the numbers with the second cohort, but I don't have the resources and the logistics to do it, so we're doing another 20. I have a few people who support, plus myself. But in future, I think we can increase the number to 50, then to 100, and what I'm envisioning is that we could probably form a permanent academy, special academy with military training and all these trainings, and enroll more into the system. I think what is very common is that some will fall on hard
Of course.
stones and
Yeah,
some will
of
fall
course.
on the wayside,
Yes,
but you
yes.
can get a lot more in the system. So
Yeah.
it's about numbers
Yeah.
and creating the right leaders and make them available in the country. It's unfortunate that the very good people in this country, the young people, who do not want to sort of be converted into living the kind of life that most people live, run away to outside of the country.
Outside of the country, yeah.
And those who stay, it's difficult to stay on the narrow path. Because you see that those who do not have the right values are succeeding, and you, the good guy,
Yeah.
you are suffering.
Yeah.
So a lot of people get converted. Not that they were not brought up properly or they don't have the right exposure, but the system will convert them.
absolutely.
So we need to create a lot more. Some will be converted, some will go away, but then some will stay in the system. And we also try to give them means of living, as in businesses and how to survive and things like that, because you need to earn money to be able to stay on course.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right about what you said.
Yeah.
Bad habits or bad company will corrupt good habits.
Exactly.
So you're
Exactly.
absolutely right. I mean, you're doing such a fantastic work. To me, it kind of sounds like the beginning of your venture, though it's in a different field. Now you're sowing into the lives
Absolutely.
of the future you're sowing. And to me, I kind of see Captain PK now have perhaps even a higher purpose.
I do.
A higher purpose.
I do.
A higher purpose.
I was telling someone that my story is very interesting. You know, I think at some point, probably God took me through all these things, and at some point it says, cut. Now use it to create this new people with different ideas. And this is a lot bigger than just owning a bank and taking it easy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if I don't sleep, I don't sleep because of what I think we can do for this country through the young generation. And the gap that is huge. And the politics that we have now can never get us out of our problems. Because the politicians must have a lot of money to give to the people to buy their votes and do whatever they have to do before they come into power. And those monies must be paid for with interest. And they should make a profit. And they should build a war chest for the next political fight.
Yeah.
And that is the democracy that we have. One man, one vote. And I think eventually, unless God intervenes and we get a leader who is been with the rot but knows what is better.
Yes.
But that is difficult because the parties control the people. So it's difficult. I can't see this democracy giving us the kind of leader who will change the country.
Yeah, and I see where you're coming from. None of us have a crystal ball as to how things are going to go in the future. But I believe that what you're doing is creating the right values.
Absolutely.
The right values.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think.
And then you pray to God. I see it's like casting your bread upon the waters.
It is. It is.
At least that's what it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is. It's probably the kind of work where it's possible that you may not even see the full
I will
fruit
certainly not see it.
of your labor.
It's very unlikely that I will see it. Very unlikely.
Yeah.
Because I'm concentrating on the next, on the younger generation, and I'm 72. I think I have fewer years left than what I've spent.
I kind of, you know, when as we're talking, it reminds me of a great leader, Martin Luther King.
Okay.
He said he had a dream, and he had a dream when things were horrible. I mean, you know, the attitude, the racial attitude in the United States back then. But he had a dream, and it's interesting. He did not see the fulfillment of that dream. Now, I want to ask you, Captain PK, what dream, as Martin Luther King had a dream about the future, what is your dream for the future of this great nation?
Well, a dream is a dream.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
This is your chance to just let it out.
But to your point, I don't think dreams, as you asked me, come as pure dreams. You have to work at it.
Yeah.
And Martin Luther King, a whole lot of Pan-Africanists and things, the black people fought for it.
Yeah.
They died.
Yeah, they did. Yes. I was about to say,
Exactly.
yes, blood was shed.
So the dream for Africa, that is why we're trying to put in something, is that we can see an Africa that is united, and it takes its role in world affairs, and takes control of its wealth. It collaborates, not that it's exploited. But that will come about only if you get leaders who love their people. Because you see, in Africa, we tend to love just ourselves and our immediate family, our tribes people. Africans do not have this concept of being general and loving everybody because the need wasn't there, which takes me a different thing. You see, because we live in a place of abundance and no natural hazards, we become in-looking and we not challenge. So we don't think about the future, we don't plan, we don't budget. And we depend on nature, which was so good to us. So you go to the Bronx, you go to Soweto, you go to Nima in Accra, you can see the African lives here. We live things about, we pee around, we do all these things. It's what nature made us do, because every human being or every living thing must adapt to its nature, to environment. Or the environment has effect on every living thing.
That's right.
And we adapted to the environment. And part of the adapting is that we have created cultures and traditions that are very negative. For example, we don't respect time. It's not our fault. Where were we going? Food was abundant. We didn't have to rush for anything. So if I say come tomorrow, you come. Okay, let's go to bed. Tomorrow we'll talk about it. So we have a challenge. You have to understand this. This is part of the things that I give to the young people, the scholars, and say, listen, you have to understand the black man and why he does the things that he does. If you don't understand that, you cannot change them. And the world is leaving us by in a whole lot of areas, but we need to pick up ourselves and change the narrative along the line. The longer we keep, the more we are exploited and the more the gap. And now the problem that I have is that even when we're able to get the right leaders in place, we have the problem with the white man, whether he will agree with it, because then he's going to lose some of his power and his exploits. It's another thing that we'll think about later on. We're not there yet. Let's get it right and see how we tackle that. So my dream,
your dream,
is just a dream of an Africa that is respected and has its own standing with other continents and other powers that be. But unless we are united, and which won't come easily, I can't see us making it or breaking through, because they always keep us divided, so they can't exploit us. So an Africa that is united is necessary, and an Africa that's in charge of its own resources, an Africa that is respected. Incidentally, you see, in this world, the Chinese were not respected when I was growing up. The Japanese were not respected as growing up. And other countries like Korea and things like that were not respected. The only time people get respected is when they are able to develop themselves.
That's right.
Because for all these people I'm talking about, the narrative has changed. You go to New York and Chinese are all over the place and they don't give a damn about the Americans, and Americans accept that they're bringing money and things like that. So unless and until African countries put their act together and become developed countries, we're not going to be respected. And that is why I don't even travel. Because when I travel, I know what is in the mind of the white guy looking at me. He sees me as a third, fourth class citizen. But we need to change the narrative here and develop ourselves before we can ask for respect.
The change starts with us.
Yes.
The change starts
Only
with us.
we can change ourselves and our nourishing.
Captain PK, you are doing everything possible with the time that you have been allotted, and you're planting into the hearts of the future. And as you said, as you plant, who knows? Even if one seed where to be on fertile soil.
Yeah.
That's really all you need. That's really all
Absolutely.
you need to
Absolutely.
start the change
Yeah.
that Ghana needs, and in fact the whole Africa and perhaps
Absolutely.
even
Absolutely.
other parts of the world.
Absolutely.
Need. Wow. I want to thank you so much, Captain PK, for
Dr. G.
this time. It's been
It's been nice talking to you.
It's been really insightful.
Thank you.
To get your thoughts. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
sir.
enjoy your stay in Ghana.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We will.
Okay.
We will.